Deejay Sac hanging out with me right now. He's one of the performers. What's going on, man?
Everything is good. How are you?
Same thing. Everything is good, man.
Thank you for having me here.
You got it, man. So you're a DJ.
I am.
So are you performing, or are you just kind of mixing it in with the other bands?
A little bit of both. I do general stuff, kind of play throughout the night and just keep the party moving, but I also have a couple of spotlights throughout. Kind of a semi-featured performer, you might call me.
All right.
Someone who has, spots throughout.
Right. Now, you're 2 turntables and a microphone?
2 turntables and a mic. That's correct. Techniques 1200s. All the way.
Nice. How'd you get involved in doing that?
Well, I've been DJing since about 1989. I've been in it for a while. I got turntables as a present for Christmas back in about 89, 90.
Wow.
And ever since then, I've been just doing it and loving it. It's one of my few talents.
Right on, man. That's back in '89, I was relatively new in a sense. I mean, maybe 10 years ago, been doing it.
Well,
in the
almost
biz?
20 now, to 22 to be
well,
exact.
Well, as far as like actual DJing and mixing like that, has been relatively new at the time you started, right?
Right. Yeah. Professionally, I've been doing it since about 92. I practiced for a few years, bedroom DJ style, and I started getting gigs in about 92 when I graduated high school. That makes me old, by the way.
What did you mix at first? Because I used to be like when I was, I'm a little bit, I don't know how old you are, but I'm probably older than you.
Maybe so.
But as far as in the 80s went, I mean, I kind of got involved in some of that, in the 12-inch remixes and stuff like that. So I had a handful of those, and we were playing around with those. What were you mixing?
I've been digging for a long time, a lot of different styles. I kind of started as a hip-hop DJ. I started as a battle DJ, really. That was really my main focus, starting off.
And what's that mean?
Well, a DJ battle is something where you'll take 5 to 7 minutes and showcase all the things that you do: scratching, blending, mixing, back-to-backs, as we call them, different styles of turntablism. And I really consider myself a turntablist. I've been doing it for long enough and kind of advancing that specific aspect of DJing. Instead of just playing music, I manipulate the music. I kind of change it and make it my own in a sense. And throughout mixtapes and battles and other appearances, that's the format that I do it in. But it's been... I've participated in a bunch of battles. I'm from New York originally, and I've been here about 5 years in Phoenix.
All right.
So most of all the battles that I've done, I should say, are in New York. EMC, ITF. These are big names in the DJ world. Not a lot of people know about them otherwise, because turntablism is still kind of bubbling under.
I like that term. Did you make that up?
No, that's not me. I believe DJ Babu made that up, but it's been a term that's been around since the mid-'90s, since those battles really became something.
Okay, so now, nowadays, back in the day, of course, you had to use vinyl. Are you still using vinyl?
I don't use vinyl now. Last year, almost exactly a year ago, I bought something called Serato, which basically allows me to play MP3s through the computer. I use the Serato program uses actual vinyl to control, so I still use the same tactile function of mixing and scratching and touching the records.
Okay.
But it's playing these MP3s through the computer. It's a really great system. It's a great program. It's been around for several years, but I only picked it up last year.
So you really, is it vinyl or just really a turntable you're spinning?
It's literally vinyl on the turntable, but what
there's
it does
no needle on it though.
Well, the needle does play on the record, and what it does is it makes a tone. It makes a beep tone, and that tone is basically picked up by the program on the computer that allows me to play the MP3s through the records
and scratch it in that way.
So it keeps me in. I've been spinning records vinyl, since I started, and for 20 years I dug and went and got dusty records and so on and so forth. But with Serato, I can just download or get or even make songs and play them just like I used to play vinyl, because it is literal vinyl, just that digital method.
Okay,
it's pretty much the gold standard for DJs. Most people end up using that, or there's a sister program that other people use, but it's what allows us to stay with the vinyl. The tactile vinyl feel, which is really the most important thing for DJing.
Yeah, right. So I see DJs with no vinyl. I'm thinking it's kind of, you lose a little bit of that art, the art form, isn't it? I mean,
it's definitely true. You can mix CDs, but it doesn't give you the same. And I used the word tactile before, but it is about that feeling. It's about using your hands, your fingers to manipulate it in such a way that it's very precise and specific. CDs don't, to me at least, allow that the same way.
Now you mentioned blending and mixing. What's the difference between those two?
Blending is literally just keeping things on beat.
Okay.
So if you're playing a song that's 96 BPM, you want to make the next song stay at that same BPM so there's not a jarring mix between the two.
Right.
And mixing, I would think, is something is more overall, like not the actual blend, but the whole mix of the night. I would consider that something like when you take the audience on the roller coaster, you take them up and down and here and there and everywhere. That's the whole mix, as I would see it.
I got you. So do you have songs mapped out as far as, I know this song's got 96 beats, and then this one starts off at 96, but it might not end in 96, and then you got to do free flow it like that, or is it all mapped out?
It's funny because I do a little bit of both. When I was playing with records, of course, you don't really have the BPM. There were BPM counters, but I never bothered. It was all by ear, by understanding of my records, my crates that I've been collecting for so long. Now, yes, the BPM is listed and everything, and it's very easy to do that. But that can actually cause you trouble, because if you're too insistent in paying attention to that, you might end up losing the overall point. And when it comes to songs that change BPMs, like you said, that may slow down and that may even change into something totally differently, it's something those are great records for me, actually, because a lot of times you can transition with that type of thing. You know, if you're going slow and it does speed up, you want to get into a faster thing from there for the next, say, half an hour. You can use a record like that as a transition. That's one of my favorite kinds.
Nice. Deejay Sac is with us. We're talking mixing and DJing and the real DJing, I guess you can say. And what music is like off limits for you? Is there certain music, or can you pick up like an old country song and see if you can't throw that in the mix somewhere?
I wouldn't say there's anything off limits. I don't play a lot of country. Let's say
I only threw that out as an example. My other example was like going to be a Justin Bieber album, you know.
Right.
But you throw that in there. I mean, you know.
There's parties where I've played all sorts of things that I never thought I'd play before. I did with Live Nation a couple months ago, a Kid Rock show, and I was playing the VIP section, and I played all rock. It was not something I'm usually used to doing, because I do have sort of a hip-hop background. I play reggae, R&B, funk, soul, world music, but I'd never really gotten that deep into rock. Thankfully, my wonderful fiance helped me out to get me into the mood of some rock and to show me some songs, but there's really nothing I won't play, and I've been expanding my sort of repertoire a lot in recent years to just include these different kinds of music that I wouldn't have normally played back in the day when I was strictly a battle DJ, when it was all about the hip-hop and all about the battling and that turntablism aspect, and I've grown recently. We all do eventually.
Absolutely. So the rock, as far as, you're not scratching with the rock? You are?
No question. No question.
All right.
A lot of the rock, although it is difficult because it is played live, or much of it is, you can still mix it if you are able to sort of... The pitch, this is overly technical for many listeners, but the pitch control on the turntable is your best friend, because it allows you to change where that record is going. So if the other one is being played live and maybe it's beginning to drift a little bit, you can make the other record that you're blending in drift with it. And yes, scratching comes into play in terms of making a transition, maybe a quick cut from one song to another that you can scratch the other one in. And rock is actually pretty amenable to that. I had a lot of good transitions and blends playing with all rock and Bon Jovi and all that stuff, Motley Crue, but it does actually mix if you're paying attention to how it sounds.
Yeah, and I'm sure your experience kind of adds a little bit to that.
To some extent, yes.
Right on. DJ Sacfly, where you got a website?
Yeah, DJSacfly.biz, B-I-Z, DJSacfly.com as well, DJSACFLY.
FLY.
Yeah, DJSacfly.com.biz.
All right.
I cover the web.
Nice. Very cool. You're up here tonight at Club Red. Looking forward to hearing some of your stuff.
Here with the R.E.I.G.N artists. We're putting the show on every month. It's going to be here and potentially other places going forward, but a great roster of artists, great performing artists, great visual artists. Other DJs will be here as well. There's going to be a lot of different styles. This is a really eclectic show on purpose, and I'm going to be playing eclectic music to go along with that. Something new, something old, and a lot of stuff in between. Some good stuff.
Well, right on, man. Well, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to throw a little bit old school for you, right?
All right.
A little old school NYC rap.
Let's have it.
All right. You'll know who it is.
This speech is my recital. I think